All right. It's interesting. 45 of us here today. It's interesting how my 8 a.m. class kind of started off with the camera on for like one or two sessions, and it was like 3 pages deep of people doing and reacting, and it's getting like less and less, and now it's like 2 lines of 1 page. It's like truly this is the most pajama class ever, is this 8 a.m. one for everybody. It's hilarious. So anyway, I appreciate seeing your faces so that I can look at some actual people. Hope everybody is doing well. Yeah, let's just start off, I guess, with any questions first that anybody has in as far as class stuff. So the first essay is due the 14th on greenhouse gases. Today, by the end of the day, is your first post is due. Um, First post is due for the Garbage Warrior, which is an awesome documentary. I actually released a question about that. The questions are going to be open until 7 p.m. tonight. From this morning, I opened them sometime around 10 o'clock in the morning after that exciting 8 a.m. Anybody have any questions? Anything about the first couple chapters? You could type it on the side, or you could just ask one if you do. When is our first exam? Not really sure. I think it's the week after next. Let me look at announcements. Announcements, I have one early on. That's all these exam dates will not move. So September 18th. So next Friday. And I know that we have class on Thursday, but I'm going to open it up for 24 hours. I'll probably open it up on the 18th and then have it be open all the way through Saturday, maybe for like a day and a half or something like that. And you'll have, I think, an hour to complete 50 questions. And those questions are true, false, or multiple choice. And that's because we're doing so much writing for other stuff that these tests are going to be pretty straightforward. So, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, I'll release a study guide this weekend. And the test is over chapters 1 and 2, the first chapter, and then greenhouse gases. So it should be pretty straightforward. But I will release a study guide. And Garbage Warrior is something that will be on the exam, some questions from that. So pretty much have to dive into at least a few minutes of that today so that you can post, if not the whole thing, so that you can post your first post for the discussion. So yeah, essay is due on the 14th, this Monday, so you do have the weekend for that. And for the solution essays, just as a reminder, trying to get people to be as specific as possible with their solution. Can be something that somebody else has come up with, but has to at least, you have to talk about how you would implement it, what you would do, how you would turn that into something that would be a functional piece, even if you are piggybacking on an idea that somebody else has. Any other questions as we kind of look at stuff? Anybody? Going once? Going twice? All right, should I give you a farm update? I'll give you a farm update. How about that? Everything was tarped, and everything that we tarped and heated lived and looks really great. We uncovered it today for the day to get a little bit of light, and we're gonna cover it up again tonight, and then tomorrow should be like 66 degrees and a low of 47, 48 or something like that. So then it'll be 80 degrees, it looks like, for the next 10 days plus in Colorado, at least. So it's gonna be really, really nice now that we've had dramatic fall. And I have not read anything about the fire. I know that they got a little bit of containment going on that, and but today is so cloudy that I can't really tell. So I'm not sure if anybody has an update on that piece, if they're making some headways, but let's hope they are. All right, let me look at top hat question. If there's no more questions from you all, then let me get to a top hat question. All right. Are humans partially responsible for climate change or global warming? And we had 70 people answer, 69 people answered yes, and 1 person said no, although I think that's probably because they're nonconformist rather than they don't think that climate change is happening. Pretty sure anyway, but that's a lot of agreement. And like we mentioned, or I mentioned in chapter 1, it's interesting that we can have that much agreement here in this class, but there's still a lot of folks putting forth, confusion, or that there isn't agreement, or questioning the types of things that I think we already have a good grasp of in here. All right, let me look at another one. All right. Do affluent nations have a responsibility to help the rest of the world adapt to climate change, considering they bear a significant and disproportionate share of the blame? And I've seen people answer this in different ways with really good explanations. So I'm really more interested in knowing why. But do affluent nations have a responsibility to help the rest of the world adapt to climate change? 66 people yes, and 4 people said no. So why yes or why no? I mean, why should countries that have more money and access and power help nations adapt to climate change, or not? What do you think?
I think that that more affluent nations do have some responsibility in helping other nations respond to climate change, just because more affluent nations, you showed a graph from the textbook in the most recent lecture, and we more affluent nations just account for so much more global climate change. And yeah, that's just because we account for so much more. I think that we have a responsibility to help others adapt to it.
Awesome. Who else, and why? What did you vote? Why? And maybe also, if you did vote yes, what would that look like, helping another country specifically? Anyway, what are your thoughts?
I said yes. The way like I looked at it, like that we could help is if like America and other countries were more open about like, yes, climate change is happening and we like develop these technologies. Like in the past, we've been sort of a leader, and like when developing now, a lot of countries sort of like follow our path. So if we're able to develop these like different things, then it'll be cheaper for other countries to do and more in line with the rest of the world. So then it'll just be easier for everyone to do.
Great. Yeah. It would be awesome if we really started to, I guess, retake a leadership role. Like it or not, other countries do, and the world does look to what the United States is doing. And if we don't set a leadership role, then I think that places, can, okay, well, maybe we can get away with more pollution, or maybe we can kind of skirt this around for a while. If the United States leads on issues, and more countries follow, and look, peer pressure is a real thing, right? Like, I know that we all want to say that in your elderly college age of 18, you are far too wise for peer pressure to be able to impact you. However, this is a sociology class, and I'll give you an example of this in regards to the environment. When we were living in Loveland, there was a church behind us, and a wireless company wanted to put in a stealth steeple. Yes, you actually heard that right. They drew up plans to put a wireless tower underneath a steeple, and even had it labeled as a stealth steeple. They said it was pretty much a done deal. Nobody could get a hold of the people from the church. Everybody showed up, meaning from everybody, they only invite people within a small distance to show up in these neighborhoods. Those people showed up, and I just kind of watched the whole time, and people were not happy. But I couldn't get a hold of the guy who ran the church. So one Sunday morning, the boys asked if we could make posters. And this is when my kids were like 8 years old and 6 years old. And so they made pictures that said no cell tower, and they had like pictures of sad animals. I'm serious. It was that basic, like sad dogs. And they stood outside the church on a Sunday morning with their posters up. And immediately after the service, the pastor came over and is like, "What is going on?" because his people were like, what is going on? And so I said, well, we've been trying to get a hold of you. The neighborhood is not really excited about a residential low tower or whatever in the church. And he said, I had no idea. I don't check my email. We don't want to make the neighborhood upset. Anyway, what led to him coming over, and then they ultimately decided not to go with it. The company was barred and we didn't do it, but that was basic peer pressure. Like, people that were going in the church are like, why are cute little kids holding up signs of sad animals, and what is our church doing? And so coming back to this, I think that if our country leads and that puts peer pressure on other countries to do the same or set good examples, we're going to make a lot of headway faster. And will we take that role? And that's the real important part right now, because we have done so much backing out of the role that we did have. And let's admit, in previous administrations, this really is something that we've not been fantastic at. So we could do better no matter who or what administration politically is there, and take a bigger leadership role for sure. Good. All right, who else? Why should wealthy nations support other nations, and maybe how? Or how did you vote? Why not? I'm really mostly interested in the 4 people that said no, because I also think there are valid reasons for that.
Sorry, I have a question real quick. I'm not able to see those top hat questions for some reason. I'm able to see the new ones about, like, do you live in a place that you consider safe?
Right, those are the new ones. Yeah, if you can't see the old ones, I'm not really sure why you would or wouldn't be able to have access to them, but I did make an announcement the other day, I think, with the rep from Top Hat, his email. I'll go check, and if I didn't do that, I'll do that. I'm not really sure. It would be helpful if we could all just be able to check them out during class. Is anybody else able to check out those during class? Because once they close, maybe then they're only available to me until I click a button and open them. I'll check and make sure it's not from my end. So for now,
you have to go to the February 11th folder rather than the most recent folder.
Yeah, if you can open up those are the ones that we're talking about. Are you able to see those right now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So not the ones from today. Head up to that February 11th folder.
Thank you.
Yep. So I guess, okay, so let's move on, because that really does bring us to this, though. And that is, have we had success, or a major success, as a global community in regards to fixing an environmental problem? All right. A major success as a global community. And students answered yes, 21. And so overwhelmingly, twice that plus 48 people said no. And almost every semester, I see a lot more students that are like, nope, overwhelmingly, by 3 to 1 even, and this is 2 to 1. So I guess if we were playing a game show, because I grew up watching The Price is Right and a lot of other game shows, I would say, for those of you who answered no, you're wrong, in my game show voice. So what is it? What is the major success that we've had as a global community? Because we have, and it made a major impact. And again, remember when I was asking, do we think that we can fix the environment? And we had more people that said maybe and yes. This is related to that in a way, right? Because if we can't, if twice as many people can't even remember that we've had a major success, then that we need to get that out there. People need to know that and build upon that. I mean, it's not real momentum because it was in the 80s, but what was it? What was it?
The ozone layer.
All right, so I see ozone layer. Be more specific. You're getting close. You're warmer. Oh, that's the worst climate change joke ever.
With the ozone hole, we became aware of it. I'm not exactly sure, probably the 80s, and then we actively worked to fix it, and then we did. And then I'm not sure as far as a global scale, but with the Clean Water Act of 1972 and environmental efforts in the 70s, I think that led to somewhat of a global recognition of waste treatment, and especially with nuclearization, storing of waste was a really big issue, and we didn't realize that. And so I'd say from, I don't know much, but I'd say the global efforts would be becoming aware of issues and then communicating, bringing everyone to know about it, and then global communication on scientific matters and sharing research.
Absolutely. And so the first one that I'm thinking of is, yeah, CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. And that was like, the smell of a junior high or a high school slow dancing was like, because I'm from the 80s, remember, was like a lot of that Aquanet. And all of those cans were, at the time, most of them aerosols. And they had chlorofluorocarbons in them. We decided, we even agreed to it, to ban them when we found out that there were 2 ozone holes and problems with that, not just one. And after a very short a time, we were able to measure that those holes had repaired themselves a tremendous, or at least a very substantial amount. So we were able to do it in the 1980s. We've done some protection things since then. I think we've been, it's been here and there, and not part of the Kyoto Protocol, and a lot of other treaties. We're backing out of things frequently now and opening up, or wanting to open up, like drilling, let's say in the Arctic or in wildlife sanctuaries or parks, protected national parks. But we have had that piece of success. It mattered. We could see it on a global scale and understand that there was repair there. So success. So we have. I mean, I guess that's a good thing, that if twice as many people in this class didn't think that we had, that when you're engaging in conversations with folks, we redirect that this was absolutely possible, 20 years ago, or just a little bit more. What is possible now? And I think that, building upon past success is important. All right. Which term are you more inclined to listen to or react positively towards? Global warming 8 and climate change 61. Good. And then let's get to this one. Should schools teach children about climate change? Did we already do this one before? I don't think so. All right. So should schools teach children about climate change? 68 yes and 2 no. Why is this important? Or why is it not? But why would it be important to have a specific curriculum that has some consistency to it and some meaning to it? And that doesn't mean that there's not. There's some of that going on now, certainly. But I think we're talking, right, obviously, should we have a more robust way to teach schools about climate change? What do you think? Why is it important? Why is it not?
This question makes me think about my parents and their parents' generation, because as far as I can tell, a lot of them don't believe in climate change or global warming. And I think that the teaching about it started with our generation and a little bit older than our generation. And it's amazing how the opinion that they actually exist has increased and is continuing to increase with the younger generations.
Good. Other ideas. Why is it important for grade school?
If we don't do anything about it, it's 100% their problem. And like the sooner that they know about it and the sooner that they confront it and then start like thinking about it and preparing for it, I think that'll be good. Like, if we aren't going to work, like if we're not going to fix it, it will be the kids now or like the next generation of children. And so like the earlier they start learning about it, the better.
Yeah, and it says somebody, Bailey here, I think it's important to be educated about how we impact the environment. When we're educated, you're more willing to make conscious efforts. Yeah, starting good habits and having good habit energy, right, with the environment, critical early on. And learning early on is so fast. I mean, it's so ridiculously fast, and as human beings, we are so capable of learning so many things. I think that, yeah, like folks have said, what excellent preparation, because you are going to have to deal with the externalities of climate change. Yes? I mean, anybody who's 6 years old right now, I mean, obviously everybody in this class has had to deal with the externalities or repercussions of climate change. So considering the trajectory we're on, and it seems weird, right? Because what do you think? I mean, we can either educate people about how the environment is messed up and how they need to prepare for it, or we start doing something about it ourselves. I don't know. Educating people about what they need to do. What do you think? I mean, yes.
I think it's an important mixture of both, but I think it's really important that we teach kids young, because it's a matter of science and behavioral issues, not a matter of opinion. And I think a lot of people are really stuck on that. that it's like some sort of mythical thing when it really isn't. And giving children the power to know that they have the ability to fix this issue. It's not just like we're all screwed and that's it, you know?
Yeah, that would be a depressing legacy, wouldn't it? For sure, rather than here's what we can do, here's what you can do about it. Yeah, excellent. This is, anybody else want to chime in on this? It's interesting to me because that whole myth, the whole mythology piece, you really have to work hard, and think tanks and groups for a long time have been pumping money into medias to do this on purpose, to cause a lot of people to feel like it's a myth. And for me, I mean, when you're watching, this is a interesting week, right? When you've got California's second and third biggest wildfires on record, are burning. And then we've got Colorado wildfires over here, some of our biggest ones. And in the middle, you've got a drop down to 22 degrees and snow for the first time in 150 years. Like, it would seem like this is a no-brainer. And if I look at that, right, is climate change occurring? Are humans responsible? When I'm asking everybody here, clearly, we are on different levels and like nuances of that, like, how is that happening? What's that mean? But clearly, all you have to do is look around. And I would think that this myth, in light of what's going on, particularly so aggressively now in so many ways, would just fall away, I guess. But if you keep questioning things, I don't know, it's really interesting. Sociologically, we could look at how many people actually believe that Elvis is still alive and how many people believe in climate change. And, those are some staggering, and interesting numbers as well. All right, so it is also younger generation's future that's at risk. Teaching future generations depends on the country, because growing up in Australia, we learn about climate change in school every year. Yeah, wow. Again, a lot of these things, to me, seem so much bigger and more important than, like, how can we politicize the environment? Because clearly it's not just happening in this one structure of capitalism and democracy in the United States. It is Australia. It is the Soviet Union. It is the Arctic. So to me, we've got to, I guess, progress to get that myth out of their education, though, really early, I think, is something that everybody pretty much realizes is huge. And what those people do with it is interesting, because, like I said before, I go into kindergarten students at different elementary schools, and we do things with trees. Did I talk to this about the class of this? I think I did, maybe in one of my lectures. I'm not sure, but working with kids that little about the environment, they're extremely positive and extremely knowledgeable, and they're ready to go. And it just doesn't seem like there's a defeated thing about those young kids, in as far as, can people who are young handle the reality of climate change, or looking at or talking about or facing these things. So good. Tupac is alive in Cuba. All right. Actually, Cuba, and we'll look at it this semester, has one of the most amazing urban agriculture movements that the world has ever seen. And one of the first things we started to do to them when we were giving sanctions is cut them off from fuel. Now, if you're on an island and all you have are agricultural machines and you don't get any fuel, the first thing you have to adapt to is, how are we going to grow our food? So I post some links throughout the semester, but if you are interested in urban agriculture or organic agriculture, urban movements where they're doing it, instantly by hand with oxes, and of course, then they're not tamping down the soil as much, and they're growing in all sorts of places. And what Cuba has done with food has been nothing short of remarkable. So if you are interested in that, and that's your thing, please look into that, because I think it's just really, really interesting. A great success story. And then, of course, a lot of folks here that are starting small farms and getting into agriculture are really copying and looking at those practices, smaller in spaces, and urban agriculture here, guerrilla like urban agriculture. I love that too, like growing guerrilla gardens in city spaces. There's some really inspiring folks that do that. I'll make sure to post a lot of links throughout the course of the semester. All right. Let me see. All right, and then maybe I'll just look at this, which was, is climate change occurring? And that one is, for once, 84-0. So we know where we're at in this class now after almost 2 chapters. We get a feel in a sense for what we know. We've got a feel in a sense now for what the media has, the fact that the media or politics or social institutions or cultural beliefs and practices, how those now we understand have a tremendous impact on our understanding of the environment, what we do, how we act, how we don't. We looked at greenhouse gases. And take a look at those triangles, you know, when we're talking about putting a wedge, a behavioral wedge in, so that the rate of increase doesn't just keep doing this. A wedge would be like a law, you know, or now we've got to cap or sequester carbon, or we've got this program. And so without those, we haven't seen, you know, CO2 levels go down unabated or slow in rate of increase. So those wedges, those triangles, those are interesting things that I think important to understand in the context of chapter 2. We'll be uploading the second half of chapter 2 tonight if it's not already uploaded, or tomorrow morning. Then you'll have that by Friday. Our test isn't till next week, so you'll have all the lectures. You've already got the PowerPoints. Is there anything that anybody wants to chime in on now that we're sort of wrapping up is this the 3rd week? Yeah, wrapping up a 3rd week of the semester. Questions you have or comments about what we've been studying and looking at? Anything? Maxwell Garcia lives. All right. I don't hear much. Anything? You sure? Nothing? All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'll put out that study guide. Make sure you write your solution paper this weekend. Do a little more, right? Go just a little bit over. Go a paragraph or a couple sentences more than a page instead of doing slightly less than what's required. We'll be returning some graded things to you and getting some feedback back to you once you turn in. I have it on the syllabus that what we're trying to do is give you feedback or turn in something back to you that you've turned in within a week, so that you can prepare and have it and use that for next time. If you have any questions about the solution assignment, you can reach out to one of your 2 GTAs, the one person that's going to be grading your paper. You can reach out to me. I'll still be available tomorrow during the day. And then I do look at my emails all weekend, but I do try and step away a little bit. Yeah, we're having a small concert on our farm, a socially distanced live music thing going on Saturday, where people are required to wear masks, and we only have a handful of folks, but the live music has still got to go on, so I'm kind of excited about that. And then we'll see how many of the tomato plants, things like that we didn't cover made it, because some of them look like they might have made it. We'll see. Anybody else? Anything? All right. Be good people and do good things. And did anybody watch that video to the end? I gave it away, and then I'm wondering how many people know or watched the video all the way to the end, to the famed Rickrolling. I'll try and bring back something from the 80s, even a further reference to you next time. But if you have any questions, yeah, make sure you post tonight for Garbage Warrior. I want to discuss that next Tuesday. I'm going to give everybody a chance to make sure that they've watched it before we start discussing it. But my first question to everybody on Tuesday is just going to be like, respond, react to Garbage Warrior. So watch it over the weekend if you haven't, or I guess finish it over the weekend, or be thinking about like what stands out to you in your mind the most. Yeah, I know it's got subtitles. I was just trying to find a free link, as free links come and go all the time, and I would like to at least not have you have to pay for too many things outside of what I can find around. So yeah, anyway. All right, take care, everybody. Be good people and do good things. And yeah, take care of yourselves, and thanks for showing up today. I appreciate it. Peace.